everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
And today we're talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Very nice, very nice.
Yes.
Released in 2022. Directed by Ryan Coogler. Written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, from a story by Ryan Coogler, and starring Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Danai Gurira, Winston Duke, Angela Bassett, Martin Freeman, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Dominique Thorne, and I'm probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, but Tanaquerta Mejia as
That's it.
Namor.
That's it. You got it.
Nice. The Submariner, even though they don't call him that. So I have a funny story about seeing this for the first time. I saw it a little late. I don't remember when it was released exactly, but it was still in theaters in December. And I had a work trip that took me to San Diego. And so I was like, all right, I have the evening free. I'm going to go see Black Panther. And I don't even think it was that late of a movie. I don't remember when it started. Might have been like 7:30 or something. But I am just always tired now. And so I went.
Children will do that to you.
That's very true. So I went and saw it in the theater.
What is sleep?
Yeah, exactly. And I could not keep my eyes open. And I felt really bad. I really probably should have just left, even though I didn't want to, because I wanted to see the movie. But there were times where like I caught myself kind of snoring, and I'd be like, and kind of like wake up type of thing. And I'm sure the people around me were like, come on, dude. There weren't that many people in the theater, thankfully, but still, the very last scene of this movie is like silent. And I know there were a couple times where I drifted during that scene. And so they were hopefully, maybe they'd seen it already and I didn't ruin it for them too badly, but I felt pretty bad about it. But, so I watched this movie again. I kind of actually had to watch it in 2 sittings because I started falling asleep again. And I was like, no, I have to be awake for this movie. So I watched.
It's not a short movie.
It's not. I watched the first half, I want to say Thursday night. And then I watched the second half last night. And it's a 2 hour and 41 minute movie. But yeah, there was some stuff that I definitely don't remember. So maybe I fell asleep for longer periods of time than I thought. I thought it was just like,
I'm sure you did.
I thought I think I did, because I thought it was just like a couple seconds here and there. But there was like an entire sequence that I did not remember. So I'm pretty sure I was sawing some logs for part of this movie.
Yeah, you should have just left, man.
I should. As soon as I started like drifting, I should have been like, I guess this isn't going to work. But I'd paid money for it too, I wanted to. So anyway.
That happened to me when I went to go see the Nicolas Cage movie.
Unbearable Weight of
Massive
Talent.
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah. I luckily I was the only one in the theater.
Oh, that's good.
But I did stick it out and watch the whole thing. But
nice. So I didn't rate the movie on Letterboxd after I saw it because I felt like I hadn't really seen it. And watching it this time around, I think that was true. I mean, I remembered most of the movie, but it was almost like. It was like almost like a weird dream. Like I couldn't quite put pieces together, Yeah. And so, I'm glad I watched it again. And to be honest, I really enjoyed it this time around. It is a long movie, but I think it's actually really well done. And of course, Namor, in my opinion, just steals the entire movie. He's incredible.
Man.
What did you think first time you saw it?
Okay. I'm trying. Where do I start? So going into the movie, I had pretty high expectations for it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like is it good? I didn't think it was going to be the best MCU movie, but I was like, I trust Ryan Coogler. I know that they had to deal with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and that created quite a challenge. But so far, Ryan Coogler has not made a movie that is bad. He's not made a bad movie.
Yeah, that's true.
The only one that I haven't seen is Fruitvale Station, and that's kind of on purpose. I know it because I know that movie's kind of a downer, and I've been kind of avoiding it, but I need to go ahead and watch it.
I have seen it. It is a good movie. It is a downer. but it is a good
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. And going into the theater, as soon as it started, you could feel the emotion in the auditorium.
Oh yeah.
And when it got to the Marvel logo for the Chadwick Boseman tribute during the Marvel logo, that was heavy. I shed some tears.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because this movie has a pretty extended, like, kind of cold open where it starts with, there's a voiceover from Shuri, and she's trying to figure out how to cure her brother, and as she's trying to figure that out, he passes away. It's like kind of off screen, but Queen Ramonda comes out and tells her, he's gone. He's with the ancestors now. And I don't remember exactly when the Marvel logo starts. If it's after the funeral, is it after the casket goes up, or is it before that?
It's after that.
Yeah, so we get that whole kind of funeral scene, which I thought was really well done, and I love seeing the coffin go up, and it's got the Black Panther with the arms crossed. That was really, and the music is really good in that scene too. But then we get the Marvel logo with Chadwick Boseman. I mean, it's not surprising at all that would be an emotional moment.
It was
their experience.
It was quite heavy. It kind of stayed that way a little bit throughout the movie.
Sure.
Even though there was some happy scenes, obviously, some really exciting scenes, it still had that feel to it. This was definitely a movie about grief and like generational, like combating generations. And I thought it was really, really well done, and a breath of fresh air, because Phase 4 was not great.
Sure.
It was very inconsistent, and I'm happy to say that this is one of 2 movies out of Phase 4, 3 movies. Well, I'll say 3, because I forgot about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel quite as strongly about it as most people do. Now that some time has gone by. Has gone by. But this is one of 3 movies out of Phase 4 that I love, and I'm very happy to say that. I like I said, I cried once at the beginning of the movie during the Chadwick tribute, and then once during the post-credit scene. Now that cry was an ugly cry. that was not like, Eternals, I know, because I know I talked about Eternals, I shed a tear like that. It wasn't like that. That was an ugly cry. I was in the theater boo-hooing.
People are looking at you like, sir, are you all right? Actually, the whole theater was probably boo-hooing it.
Not the whole theater. It was a handful of us.
Yeah.
In there, but it was this is a heavy movie all the way around. And I thought, given the circumstances, not only did Ryan Coogler manage to make a good movie, and I know everybody won't agree with me, because I know it got like, I think it got the lowest ratings on Disney Plus for an MCU movie after it premiered.
Really?
Yeah. And I know everybody won't agree with me, but not only did Ryan Coogler make a good movie, but he made an excellent movie with the circumstances that he had to operate under.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So like for him to have to deal with his lead actor suddenly passing away after the script is complete.
And having to start fresh, yeah.
He didn't necessarily start fresh, but we'll get into that. But to make the necessary adjustments and still produce some high quality H2O. I mean, that hats off to Ryan Coogler. I mean, that no one else could have made this movie but Ryan Coogler. No one else could have done this.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did. I mean, like you said, I think it's a good movie regardless, but you add in the fact that what you just said, you know, that the script had been written, then all of a sudden his lead actor passes away.
Mm-hmm.
He produced an excellent movie under those circumstances as well. And I'm surprised to hear the Disney Plus thing, because I just looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes and it's got an 84% critic score and it's got a 94% audience score. So based on those, it seems like everybody really kind of liked it. I wonder if it has to do with the length. That's maybe what some people's problem with it is or something. Because
the length, and I'm also going off of what I've personally seen from people on
Online.
Social media. Yeah, so I know that everybody feels that strongly about the movie. I know I'm definitely in the minority because I think this is better than the first one. It has so much weight to it emotionally, and not just emotionally, but like just through the subtext, like what they're talking about with like the different outlooks on tradition and spiritualism. Like this movie has a lot of thematic substance in it.
Yeah.
And that's just so not Marvel. And I love when they do that. That's why I love Eternal so much. That's why I love Infinity War so much, because they are anti-Marvel formula.
So I was going to ask you if you considered this an anti-Marvel movie. I had that thought while I was watching it, but it was for much more of a surface level thing. What I was thinking, the thought that came into my brain that led me to wonder if you thought it was an anti-Marvel movie was, you know, for a superhero movie, it takes 2 hours before someone actually appears in costume. Which is, you know, when Shuri dons the Black Panther costume. I looked at when she first, you know, comes out of the plane and lands in front of everybody in costume. I paused it and it was like an hour and 58 minutes or something like that. It's 2 hours into the movie. So there's great action sequences in those first 2 hours, but there's nobody like in costume. No, there's no like superheroes really like in the first part of the movie. I guess you could say, what's her name? Riri Williams, who plays, or that's the character's name. Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri, who is that Ironheart?
Yes.
I guess she's kind of in costume. She's wearing like her makeshift Iron Man costume when they first try to get away. But anyway, I was just kind of thinking that. I was like, as you know, for me as a kid or as a young adult, because there weren't too many superhero movies out when I was a kid. It's like I wanted to fast forward through the Bruce Wayne scenes. I just wanted to get to the Batman stuff. And so, you know, for this movie, I wondered if like kids would enjoy it, or if this is more of a Marvel movie that the adults enjoy more so than the kids. I don't know, but I like it, and it doesn't bother me that it takes that long. It's kind of, I think, a good payoff. I think if they had done that too early in the movie, it wouldn't have felt earned. You know?
Yeah. And that was one of the concerns I had about the movie when it was when we first found out that Chadwick Boseman had passed away, and everybody was trying to figure out like who, you know, if T'Challa's not going to be in it, who's going to be the next Black Panther. I was like, Shuri is the obvious choice, but how are they going to make her earn it? She can't become the Black Panther in the first half of the movie. That can't happen.
Right.
Today, I said this in our little group of friends. I said they're gonna really have to put Shuri through some stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
And boy, did they.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And even Winston Duke's character, M'Baku, he says that he's like, you have been through too much for me to call you a little girl.
I really like his character in this movie. I mean, I like his character in the first movie too, but he's especially good in this one.
I think everybody elevated in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody from the last movie is so much better in this movie. And it's unfortunate because of the circumstances, but like everybody did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Even Lupita Nyong'o, who's not in the movie all that much, but they just did an excellent job with the character development of pretty much everybody. I mean, like even down to what is her name? Michala Cole. I forgot her name in the movie, but she has the daggers.
Yes, yeah.
Even her character got a little bit of development, and it's just that you don't see a whole lot of that in Marvel movies, especially in big ensemble superhero comic book movies.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody usually gets the short end of the stick. There are a handful of movies that do that. Infinity War kind of did that pretty well. But like just to see everybody come out of the gate and just give their A game to these characters, it made me so happy. And Angela Bassett gives a phenomenal performance in this movie. To say that she did a good job would be saying like the sunset is cute. Like, that is like she oh my god, her performance was so powerful. It was so powerful.
Yeah, and she got an Academy Award nomination for it.
Yeah. I really wanted her to win.
Yeah.
I really wanted her.
And I can understand. I thought that while I was watching it. I thought, she did do a really outstanding job. Before we started recording, I told you that there was you weren't going to believe some of the stuff I didn't remember from the first time I watched it. And so this is part of how I'm pretty sure I fell asleep for extended sequences, not just little snippets. I had no real recollection of Namor attacking Wakanda and killing Queen Ramonda. I didn't remember that.
You had no recollection of the best scene in the movie?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I did not remember that she died at all. Which is crazy because they even, Shuri even, screams it at one point. I think it's to M'Baku. I think she says something like, Namor, murdered my mom. She drowned or something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but she yells those words and I was like, did I sleep through that part too? I was like, how do I not remember this? It was really weird. But yeah, I had no memory of it at all. I had no memory of her, of that water bomb going off and her saving Riri, and then I think it was Riri, and then drowning. So yeah, it was. I should have walked out, not.
Yeah.
But that it broke my heart for Shuri, because I mean, the beginning of this movie, she loses her brother, and then halfway through the movie, she loses her mother, and I think she even says at one point, no, that was when I'm getting confused. That was actually Queen Ramonda. That was another great scene with Angela Bassett when she's stripping Okoye.
Oh yes. Her, oh my position. God. That scene is, oh my, she gave me chills.
Yeah. Okoye says, I have given everything for Wakanda, and Queen Ramonda is like, my entire family is gone.
Is gone.
Yeah, I have given it. Because that was when Shuri.
Have I not given everything?
Right. Shuri had gotten taken by Namor and taken down to Talokan. And Okoye couldn't get her back. And so, yeah, Ramonda was thinking, my son is dead. Shuri's gone. I've lost everything. Yeah, Angela Bassett did a fantastic job in pretty much every scene she was in.
Every scene she was in.
I love that opening scene with her at the UN, and the way that Ryan Coogler directed that, where it cuts back and forth between her speech and the people trying to steal the vibranium. I thought that was really well done, really well edited, and the music in that scene. Ludwig Göransson did the music again for this movie. He won an Oscar for the first movie, and I thought the music in that scene was really, really good.
because I'm trying not to talk about everything at once.
Sure, yeah.
That opening scene. Well, not the opening scene,
but that UN scene, yeah,
the UN scene after the opening thing. That UN scene was really good. I agree. I love how he edited it, and you think that it's happening at the same time,
right?
But it has already happened.
Yeah,
and Angela Bassett, like, she speaks with such conviction and gravitas and charisma.
Yeah, perfect word.
Yeah, like like she just. It's like you do not want to cross this woman,
right?
Like I felt like in a good way and in a bad way. I felt like my mom was talking to me. Well, I felt like I was being scolded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and she did a great. I mean, it's exactly what it feels like. She has that authoritative. She feels like royalty. You know, she really feels like. This is somebody very important and very, you know, somebody who demands like your respect. And so she knocked it out of the park for sure.
Yeah, and I love the fact that even though she does command respect and reverence, the people around her, they feel, even people who are not necessarily related to her by blood, they feel comfortable enough to call her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okoye calls her mother.
Right, yeah.
And I that's it's the little small things like that, like the attention to detail. That is what makes character development so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess let's talk about the kind of the plot of the movie, which is the whole thing with the UN is pretty much every other country wants vibranium, and Wakanda's like, no. And I love, I kind of like the line. It's because I think the woman from like France says, vibranium could be made to use weapons of mass destruction, and Queen Ramonda says, we're not worried about what vibranium could be made into or whatever. It's like we're worried about we're worried about you. You're the what freaks us out, not vibranium.
Yeah.
And so they are, they're like, we're not giving it to you, and if you try to steal it again, we will respond in kind, basically. And so then we find out that a scientist has created a vibranium detector, because vibranium isn't recognized by like metal detectors.
Right.
And so they've created a vibranium detector, and this vibranium detector has detected vibranium at like the bottom of the ocean.
As it does.
Right. I guess it works. But then and I love that scene too. Lake Bell has a very, kind of almost a cameo basically in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
They are brought in to kind of try to see if they have found vibranium, and they are attacked, and they think it's the Wakandans at first, but then they find out that it's these other people who are blue, and we find out later on that these are the Talokans.
The Talokan.
Yeah.
Talokan.
Oh, that's the name. Okay. I know that was the name of their city, but I guess that's how you would say it, the Talokan. And they're led by Kukulkan, I think is how you say it. Yeah. Which I thought was cool. I love the way M'Baku says it later in the movie,
They call him Kukulkan. I love how the dude from the River Tribe, he's like, what is that? They call him the Feather Serpent God.
And I gotta say, so I do remember this from the first time I watched it, and I thought it was genius. And as far as I know, this is not how Namor got his name, but I love how when Namor is giving his name, he says, my people call me Kukulkan, but my enemies call me, and he says it in Spanish, but it basically like means like without love or something like that. And he's like, he said my enemies call me or the
their priest or something.
Right.
He said he called me.
That's right. Yeah. When he
niños y Namor.
right.
He said the boy with no love, because I had no love for the surface world. I was like, that is so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, Namor. That's right. It was when there's a flashback and he shows about how, because we find out he's like, his people had taken like a flower, and it had basically,
it was their version of the heart-shaped herb.
Right. And it basically killed them and then revived. But when they woke up, they were like, they couldn't breathe normal air anymore, and they had to go into the ocean. And his mother was pregnant at the time, so he was the first ocean-born child. But he was also, and they say in the movie he's a mutant. And it was the first time in the MCU that we've heard the word mutant.
Well, technically, it's not the first time.
Really?
What's her face in the show?
Oh, well, I guess
Miss Marvel.
I haven't. Well, I've only seen the first episode.
They confirmed her to be the first mutant to be shown in the MCU.
But Namor is the first born.
Is the first born mutant.
Gotcha.
In the MCU.
Well, I remember. So back before Disney owned Fox, when Age of Ultron came out, and we had Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. There's that weird loophole where, because Quicksilver was also in the X-Men movies. And so there was I remember the way that they could do it is like Marvel could use those characters as long as they didn't refer to Magneto or mutants. And Fox, I guess, could use them,
but they couldn't refer to the Avengers.
Right. So so they had to kind of that's why Wanda and Quicksilver in the movies were like experimented on, and that's how they got their powers. They weren't born with those powers. So that was, I guess I didn't realize that mutant had been announced already or used in the TV shows. So this was, to me, the first MCU movie anyway that used the word mutant and kind of foreshadowed the X-Men of being a part of this universe.
Yeah.
But then there's a flashback of him going back because his mother passes away and she wished to be buried back in her like hometown, basically in her village. And when they come out into the surface world, there's like a plantation and there's slaves, and Namor just like destroys them. And that's right. The priest on the plantation calls him, the boy with no love or something like that. And so Namor stuck, which I just, I thought was just
love it.
Genius.
I love it. Namor.
Yeah. And I love the actor who this was the first time I had seen him. He's been acting for a while, but it's primarily in Spanish speaking productions. There's one movie I've heard of called Sin Nombre that he was in, and he was apparently in Spectre, the James Bond movie. He was credited as Mexican Man in Elevator. So he's
I haven't seen Spectre since the theater.
Yeah. I don't think I have either. So I'm assuming, because the beginning of that movie is in Mexico during Dia de los Muertos. So I'm assuming it's in the beginning. But I don't know. It actually says Mexican Man in Lift.
Yeah, that had to be in the beginning.
It's got to be, right? And so there's a lot of his movies I've never seen. So this is the first time I'd seen him, but I thought, he was in the Forever Purge, which I didn't see.
I didn't see that.
But yeah, so this was the first time I'd seen him, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. And I think this is one of them, this and the first Black Panther movie, I think they don't have the Marvel villain problem. At least I don't think they do. I think the villain in this movie and the villain Killmonger, obviously in the first movie, I think are some of the stronger MCU villains.
Yeah. See, I got a weird take on Killmonger.
Oh, really?
I do think he's one of the stronger villains, but Michael B. Jordan's performance to me in that movie is inconsistent.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it feels like he's hamming it up.
Yeah.
And other times it feels like he's not doing enough.
Oh, interesting. I guess I have not seen
I think I'm the only one that thinks that way.
Right. Well, that's fine. I have not seen it since we did the episode for it. So, but I remember really liking his performance in it. So I don't know. I'd have to give it another rewatch to see if I kind of pick up on that. But
yeah, now as far as how the character's written, easily,
great. Yeah,
in the top half of the MCU.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like Namor in this movie. I thought that they did a wonderful job reinventing him for the MCU, and I thought it was genius to make him of like Central American descent.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Talokan are kind of like Mayans or
right.
Aztecs.
Yeah.
Like it's just I thought it was great. Like Namor's definitely one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, I think so too.
MCU.
Yeah.
I can't
in
wait
the
to
comics,
see him come back.
I'm sure I read some comics with Namor in it, but I never read like any Namor heavy comics. So I knew who he was, but I didn't really. To be honest with you, I never really loved Namor's look in the comics. He's basically just wearing like a Speedo, and then he's got the ankles on the ankle wings. He's
and the pointed ears
and the pointed ears
slick
and
back hair,
right? With he's got the widow's peak, the very strong widow's peak. But that's pretty much it. So I really like how this movie kept true to that to an extent, but also really kind of like you kind of said, elevated it. You know, they made him, like you said, they kind of, because I don't know, he's very similar. I looked him up on Wikipedia before we started recording, and his origin is very similar to Aquaman. At least when he was first created, he's supposed to be the mutant son of a human sea captain and a princess of Atlantis. I mean, that sounds like Arthur.
Well, the DC stole that from Marvel. The Submariner came first.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's just, I guess, yeah. Aquaman stole that, I guess. I mean, you're very, because Namor let's see, he first appeared in 1939. So yeah. But I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, but he's always portrayed as kind of a white guy.
Yeah.
And so I do like that they changed that for the movie, and I like all the kind of the Mayan. You know, I like when he first shows up and talks about how there's the surface dwellers have made a vibranium detector, and it's led them to their doorstep essentially. And Queen Ramonda says something like, you know, you're lying. Vibranium can only be found in Wakanda. And Shuri goes, mother, he's covered in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like how a lot of, you know, all his stuff is vibranium, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. Speaking of of his armor, I love the costume design in this movie.
Yeah.
His armor looks fantastic. The production design, the look of Talokan is incredible. I wish we could have seen more of it, honestly, but it would have made the movie even longer.
Yeah.
But I love that kind of like that whole like Mesoamerican civilization. It's always fascinated me. Like watching this kind of made me want to watch Road to El Dorado because of
right.
because of that.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It's the Mayans and Aztecs and, you know, Incas, like they've all those civilizations have been fascinating to me. And I thought it was I just thought it was a really good and unique approach to a Marvel character.
Yeah.
Because they kind of took what DC did with the DCEU version of Aquaman and made him like a Pacific Islander. And you know, it's good to see different types of people represented.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I also too I like how the plant that the Talokan took turned them blue, and
Yeah.
he's the only, and they also have to breathe water. They can
Yeah.
only breathe through water, like, so when they come up to the surface, they've got these masks that have like water in the mask and everything.
Yeah, and they got it on their neck because they got like gills
Right.
on their necks. Yeah,
Which I love, but he is the one person that can breathe both underwater and on the surface, or breathe air out of water. And I really like that, Marvel is able to kind of pull these things off now. If this movie had come out 20 years ago, I don't know if they would have given him the ankle wings. They would have just said he could like fly. But I like that they actually kept the ankle wings for this movie, and the pointed ears and everything. They, like I said, they kind of kept the essence of Namor and yet still kind of changing, background and everything, which I really like. But the flight, seeing him fly, I thought looked really cool.
Oh man, he looked incredible when he was flying, because like he wasn't just flying, he was like running in the air. Like it was so dope. And because he has wings on his ankles, he can turn at a dime.
Right.
So like he not only is he flying and he's fast, but he's agile and precise. So it makes him a deadly warrior in the air.
And underwater. Like I remember there's a part where he, he's attacked, like I think it's during the attack on Wakanda. And Shuri and I think Koye are in a like a plane together, or one of their jets type things. And he ends up going into the water, and I think one of them goes, he's fast, and they're like, he's even faster underwater, and you see him just like
zipping by.
Exactly. And then he ends up coming out of the water and like destroying the thing at that point. Yeah, it was really good. And so his whole thing is, he basically feels like the Wakandans are responsible because, well, I mean, they have withheld vibranium from the world. And because of that, the surface people have created this vibranium detector, which has then brought the surface world to their front door. And so he holds them somewhat responsible, and it's like, bring me the scientist that came up with the vibranium detector, or, we're going to have issues. And so, that's essentially what has happened. They go to find the scientist, realize it's a, young girl.
MIT.
Yeah. I guess she's 19, I think.
Yeah.
But she's basically young Tony Stark. She's a genius and working on an Iron Man suit herself.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Ironheart and that character?
I like her. I really like her in this movie. When I first saw the concept art for her Mark I suit, I didn't like it. Seeing it in the movie though, I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool. Yeah, I actually like her Mark I better than her Mark II.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never really liked the way Ironheart looked in the comics. I never read any of her comics, but I did know who she was and what she looked like, and I wasn't a big fan of her look.
Right.
But I think that Dominique Thorne gave a really fun performance.
Yeah, she's kind of some of the comedic element to the film. And I think she does a good job. I kind of agree with you. I don't really love the look of Ironheart. I just Googled it because I actually am not super familiar with the character at all. And so just seeing some of the comic images, they did a pretty decent job of adapting that for the movie, but I'm not a huge fan of it either.
Yeah, it just doesn't really look great.
Right. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think I like her character. I know she's going to have her own Disney Plus show, or she's going to be included in something. I'm pretty sure they're making an Ironheart show, aren't they?
I think they're making an Ironheart show. And I think she might also be in the Armor Wars movie. Okay. Because the Armor Wars was supposed to be a show, but now they turned it into a movie.
Oh, interesting. So it'd be interesting to see more of her.
Yeah.
She's I like her comedic elements. Especially after Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb and then like realizes that it worked and she's got like superpowers. She's like, can I get some of that? That was pretty good. But overall, like her character is probably not, and I'm not saying she's a bad character, but she's probably like my least favorite character in the film. I just find so many of the other characters more interesting. But at the same time, I think they did a good job of making, her the scientist and making her fairly interesting. You mentioned at the beginning, Ryan Coogler didn't quite start fresh with the script. So what elements of the story remained? Was Namor always going to be in the movie?
Yes, Namor was always going to be the villain, and it was always going to be a movie about grief. But rather than grieving a person, it was going to be about T'Challa grieving lost time.
Oh, okay.
So what was going to happen is that it was going to be a father-son movie. He was going to, he would have been blipped back,
right,
and discovered that he had a kid.
Oh.
And so with the whole Wakanda vibranium Talokan storyline, his kid was going to be accompanying him while he was handling this, like being
right. But he
being
missed
a diplomat, pretty much,
basically of his
life.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was basically gonna be like I'm one of the most powerful beings on the earth, and his son was gonna be like, yeah, okay, whatever, Dad. so yeah, it was gonna be a father-son movie, and it actually kind of ended up being a mother-daughter movie if you think about it.
Yeah. I read today I read a review by somebody that I follow on Letterboxd, who also has a podcast called Film Spotting, but and he gave it like 2.5 stars and basically kind of said it was a kind of a muddled mess, and the movie didn't know who it wanted its main character to be, and I disagree with that. I think it's from the beginning of the film, it makes it pretty clear that this is Shuri's movie.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Shuri, I understand why he says that though.
Yeah.
Shuri is the protagonist.
Yeah.
Her storyline is the through line for this movie. However, this is an ensemble cast.
Right.
Kind of like how Robert Downey Jr. is in pretty much the entirety of the MCU. He may not necessarily be the star of every movie, but the entirety of the universe hinges on his storyline.
Right, yeah.
So I understand why he would think that, but I don't agree.
Right, I don't either.
I think the movie knows exactly what it is, and knows exactly who is the protagonist and why these things are happening, and what needs to happen in order to move the plot forward as far as who it needs to happen to.
Right. And I think it's a little unfair to, obviously he's entitled to his opinion, but I think it's a little unfair to say it, because it's like, if they had just focused on Shuri and her grief with the passing of T'Challa, I feel like it would have felt somewhat false. I like how the other characters are also dealing with it. You know what I mean? And so it made it feel like this whole nation, this whole community was actually mourning the loss of their king and their Black Panther. So like, I really
I love how they handled it too. They treated T'Challa's death exactly like Chadwick Boseman's death. He was sick and nobody knew, and passed away suddenly.
Right. Yeah.
And they treated it exactly the same in the movie, and I thought that was genius.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
Rather than trying to make up some like fictional war, he died in a war or died on a mission, like they made it exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have easily gone that route. Like he was trying to save whatever and was killed in an explosion or something. Yeah, they could have done anything. So you're right. I'm glad they went the route they did. It felt it's kind of weird to say it felt more real, but it kind of did. It really
it did.
Yeah.
It felt authentic.
Yeah.
So they take Shuri back to Talokan. Well, actually, Shuri volunteers to go to Talokan, and so they won't harm
Riri. Riri, my bad.
But she also wants to
Riri.
see Riri.
I only said it wrong like 15 times so far, but that's fine.
It's fine. But she also wanted to see Talokan.
Yeah.
And talk face to face to Namor.
Yeah.
Because she's not trying to go to war.
Right.
And she spends most of the movie trying to avoid war. Which I thought was very good for the story. And then, it all comes to a head when Namor attacks Wakanda, which again is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
To me, I love that scene. I love the way it's shot. I love Namor's combat techniques in the scene, the way he moves. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but he's so fast. He's deadly. Like he's kind of OP.
Yeah. He really, but it's awesome though, and I love his speech after Queen Ramonda dies. And he's like, "Bury your dead, mourn your losses." And he's like, "And we'll be back," basically.
Yeah. And for him, it's like it's almost as if it's not personal, but it is.
Right.
It's weird. It's like this. It's this fine line between personal and not personal. It's like it's almost as if he didn't want to do it, but he did.
Yeah.
He was like he was honoring his word. He said, if anybody finds out, I'm coming. Yeah, exactly. I'm coming. And he honored his word and he came. But it's like, can you be mad at him though? Like he's trying to protect his people,
right?
Because like he knows.
Well, that's why I think
exactly what the surface world is capable of. He's just like Queen Ramonda is like, listen, like we're keeping it from you, so you don't destroy yourselves,
right?
like because we not worried about us, we worried about you messing up the rest of the world.
Right. And
like, we've had it for thousands of years and we've been fine.
And I was gonna say, I think that's what makes Namor such a good villain in this movie, is that because you can kind of understand why he's doing what he's doing. And you may not agree with the way he goes about it, but like you can kind of understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much shortly after that, Shuri is able to recreate the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah. I really, really like that whole montage. The music is really good. I mean, the music throughout this whole
movie is
good. The score is good, as well as the needle drops.
Right.
It's just honestly the music. Since we already talked about it, the music in this movie, the score is some of the best music in the MCU, hands down.
It's really good.
I think it might be one of my favorite 3 in the MCU.
Nice. Yeah. I can understand completely, because it's really, really good, and it works for the movie, especially like really well. So yeah, I get that completely. You started to say
the montage,
yeah, the montage.
when she was creating the synthetic heart-shaped herb. I thought that was really it was handled really well. Like even though it's a montage, it felt just so emotional, and I think that's because of the song that played in the background. When she finally figured it out, it kind of echoed something later in the movie, after she becomes Black Panther. But I thought to myself, like, she wasn't like mentally ready to figure it out. She was frantic. She was rushing it in the beginning of the movie, but this time she took her time, and it resulted in a synthetic herb that was 98% effective or whatever. Rate, confidence rate. Yeah, I thought that was a nice seed that was planted for later in the movie after she becomes Black Panther. We'll talk about it in a minute, but what I do want to talk about is the ancestral plane.
Yeah,
because I like in the back of my head I knew, but I kind of forgot.
Oh yeah.
So when they first announced this movie, this was before Chadwick Boseman had passed away.
Sure, yeah.
When they announced this movie, they said that Michael B. Jordan was in talks to return. And I'm like, he dead. How he gonna come back?
Right.
I mean, it's a superhero movie.
Right.
They always bringing people back.
Right.
But I personally didn't see Ryan Coogler doing that. I didn't think that he was gonna take the cheap route and just bring him back from the dead.
Right.
And then after they made that announcement, you never really heard anything about it again. And then the movie comes out, and then this scene comes on. The way this scene is so awesome. The music in the scene, the composition, the cinematography, when the camera pans and you see who's sitting on the throne, I was like, oh. Oh man, and it made complete sense for Shuri to see Killmonger. What's his Wakanda name? N'Jadaka. It made complete sense for her to see N'Jadaka, and because like they were teasing, they were trying to build it up like she was going to see her mother,
right,
because that's who she wanted to see,
yeah,
and. I love the fact that even he says that you didn't even believe that the ancestral plane was real, and now look at you. now you see me of all people, and it made sense because he was so full of vengeance and rage and anger, and he hadn't healed. And she hasn't healed yet either.
Right.
So it made sense for her to see him. And even after she gains the power from the heart-shaped herb and becomes the new Black Panther, she's still not quite Black Panther.
Right.
And I love that Ryan Coogler decided to further develop her character after she becomes the new Black Panther. Because don't get me wrong, when she suits up and drops out of the thing like that scene was awesome. The theater went crazy.
Sure.
For that scene, because we had waited 2 hours to see it.
Exactly.
But and even though they showed that shot in the trailer, to see it in context was completely different. It was a completely different experience. But I really love the fact that her character continued to develop, even though even though she had become the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
She had to reconcile all of her conflicting emotions regarding her family, because Killmonger points it out that like what you gonna do? Like you can't be like your dad, because your dad would have killed that girl. He's absolutely right. T'Chaka, he definitely would have killed Riri Williams and called it a day. He killed his own brother.
Right.
So he definitely would have killed her and called it a day. And then he said, you're definitely not like your brother because your brother's too noble. He out here letting everybody live. So you don't have no choice but to be like me. And I thought it was genius. But I love that, in the end, she gave him a choice rather than saying, no, I'm not gonna kill you. Like, look, I could kill you right now, but I'm gonna give you a chance to yield. And I thought that was a perfect resolution to her internal conflict.
Yeah. I can't say anything more than what you just explained, but I will say the ancestral plane scene is one of, if not my favorite scene in the movie. I just love the fact that it's Killmonger. I was the same way. I don't remember him being announced in the cast, so it was a complete surprise. And I do remember this from the theater. It was a complete surprise to me when he showed, like you said, the camera pans and you see him sitting there and he kind of like looks over. It was just amazing. And then his performance in that scene is just so good.
Yes.
The music is amazing. And like you said, it makes sense. It's just everything about it is just awesome. And so I absolutely love that scene. And like you said, she's at Black Panther at that point, but she's not quite Black Panther. And it's not until, like you said, it's not until the end when she gives Namor that choice that she finally has kind of become the Black Panther.
And I love how, like, I don't know, this might just be my filmmaker brain. Sure. But like when like her because she's gone through the 5 stages of grief in this movie. By the time she gets to Killmonger, she's in the anger stage.
Sure, yeah.
And I love how it's represented as fire. When she starts like talking to Killmonger and the whole throne room just goes up in flames. Like, I thought that was dope. And even how she defeats Namor with heat and fire and drying him out. Like, I just thought that was just such a really well written and well fleshed out thematic representation of her grief and her character development.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you think about the third act? Like the after she becomes the Black Panther, like the whole big battle.
I like it. I liked that they kind of tricked the Talokan into thinking that it's the Americans or whoever, again, with the with the vibranium detector, and then the ship turns its cloaking device off or whatever you want to call it, and like appears and she's standing there at the very front. I love all that, and I even like how the Talokan are able to kind of knock out that sonic. They've got like the sonic weapon that is shooting out audio, I guess, that because I know when like Namor first swims up to it, he's like, what is this? And then it's like poof, and he's like, get to the
sonic
surface.
Waves.
But they're able to destroy that. I thought it was really, the Talokan and the Wakandans, they are able to hold their own against each other. But for the most part, I like it a lot. When Namor and Shuri get to the beach, I like all of that too. It's just I couldn't help watching it the other day going, this is like Mission Impossible 2.
I hadn't thought of that, but now I'm gonna think of that every time I watch this movie. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I liked the third act, but I think the third act from the first movie was a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think the problem that I have with this third act is that the scale of it was small, and I know that they meant for it to feel big,
right?
But it didn't feel big to me. It felt medium.
Sure, I can understand that.
I do think that the CGI improved from the first Black Panther to this movie, but I think the scale of the first one of the third act of the first one was much better.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I'd probably agree with you. I think
Yeah,
like you
and
said,
I mean that's just a personal preference.
yeah, and I don't really have an issue with the final, the third act of this movie, but I can understand that criticism of they clearly wanted it to be big. That's why they're on this big boat and everything, but it didn't quite feel big. And
I thought there should have been more than one boat. It's just one boat.
It's just one boat. Yeah. But for the most part, yeah, I don't really, I don't really have too many problems with it.
But I did really enjoy the hand-to-hand fight between Shuri and Namor.
Namor, yeah. There's a few times where Namor, seems like he's really, not holding back on his punches.
Yeah.
He's letting her have it. I think one of my other favorite scenes in the movie is the very final scene in the movie before the credits start rolling, and it's Shuri shows up in Haiti and meets Lupita Nyong'o's character, and then is like, you know what, I think I need to do this myself. And she goes out to the beach. There's like a fire already there, and she tosses in it's like a white piece of clothing or something into the fire, and then there's the audio drops out. Like I said, I probably ruined it for somebody in the theater, but the audio drops out and it's completely silent, and we see these snippets of T'Challa and her, and it's and then I love the cinematography of her on the beach, and it just ends, she starts to cry, and then that Rihanna song comes, like, kind of fades in, and then
roll credits.
Roll the credits. I mean, I just thought it was a perfect ending. It just worked so well.
Yeah, I thought it was a perfect ending as well. It was the movie started with a quiet moment and it ended with a quiet moment.
Yeah.
Bookend. So it was a perfect bookend. It really showed that Shuri was, she was in her final stage of grief. She had accepted her brother's death, because she starts the movie with bargaining, and she goes into denial, then depression, then anger, and acceptance. So I thought it was a beautiful arc.
Yeah,
for Shuri. Dare I say one of the best arcs for a protagonist in the MCU.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I can say that with confidence.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now let's talk about that mid-credit scene. This is the scene that made you bawl or start boo-hooing in the theater, right?
Yeah. That mid-credit scene. So Shuri's on the beach. It picks up right where
it ends.
Right where the movie ended. And Nakia walks up with this kid, and a kid that we've seen before. We saw the kid earlier in the movie.
We did. When did we see him? Was it when
Queen Ramonda went to visit Nakia, and those 3 kids ran up to her. He was the first kid that ran up to her.
I didn't even catch that. That's
but wait, there's more. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But all right. She walks up with the kid, and she says, I have something to tell you. This is your auntie, and I love Letitia Wright's acting in this scene, because she is so convincing. It's like, what? Like her face is like, huh? Like, who is this?
Right.
But she doesn't say a word, but she gives such a great performance in that mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that T'Challa and Nakia had a son, and obviously he was born
before the blip. Yeah.
And they in that scene they also explain where Nakia was during all that time, because we hadn't seen her since Black Panther. She wasn't in
right. That's true. That's a good point.
Infinity War. She wasn't in Endgame. So they took that time to explain where she was and why she was absent. And I thought I thought that was very thoughtful of Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
But the part where I lost it was when he said his real name.
Yeah.
He said when he said Toussaint is my Haitian name. He said my real name is T'Challa. I lost it, man. Like I was absolutely done after he said that, and I had to sit there for a minute before I got up.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. What's the post credit scene?
I don't think there is one. It's just that
there's one?
Yeah, there's just that mid credit scene, and then the credits roll, and there's nothing at the end.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I had to sit there for a minute. I was absolutely done. I walked to the car and still had to sit there for a minute. Oh man, and what it is, and you could probably agree with me too. Like what it is, I'm a dad now, so I understand the importance of legacy,
right?
Like better than I ever had before because I have children.
Yeah.
So that struck me hard, like a bolt of lightning.
Sure.
So yeah, that may have been the most tears that I've shed for a superhero movie. Yeah,
that's awesome. You mentioned something earlier that I didn't even think about, and it was the fact that Black Panther had been blipped for 5 years, comes back, realizes he has a son, and then dies. It's just, it sucks for
it sucks. Yeah.
That sucks. So
yeah, it sucks. But what was I going to say? Queen Ramonda. So you remember when she took Shuri to the river?
Yes.
And they were going to do that ritual. What she did it at the end of the movie.
Yes,
they were going to burn
gotcha.
the funeral
that was
garments.
What they were doing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So she said, "Shuri, I have something to tell you," and then Namor comes out.
Yeah.
That's what she was going to tell Shuri.
Was about
T'Challa's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking about. I'm like, what? Like she never told her what she was going to say, and then I thought about it. Or no, because I saw the movie twice in theater, so I went and saw it. I went and saw it again, and the second time I saw it, I noticed Toussaint the first time at the school, and that's when it clicked. I was like, "Oh, she already knew about him. That's what she was gonna tell Shuri." So
nice,
yeah,
connecting those dots.
Yeah, connecting those dots. That's what happens when you watch it a few times.
That's right. We didn't even talk about Martin Freeman or Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh yeah, I suppose we should.
I guess real quick we can talk about them. I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus first showed up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah,
and so she's kind of been behind the scenes in some of these other stage or Phase 4 productions, but this is the first movie I think she was in. And she's like now the director of.
No,
well, you're right. She shows up in a post
yes and no. She shows up in a post-credit scene for Black
Widow. That's right. I forgot about that. You're right. Gosh, it's hard to keep up with all this Marvel. So she's basically the director now of whoever Martin Freeman works for, the CIA or something. I don't know.
This CIA.
It is CIA. Yeah. Okay. I like Martin Freeman. I think he does a good job in this movie, and he doesn't have a whole lot to do, which I think is fine. Like I don't, it wasn't like, man, this movie could have used more Martin Freeman. But I think, I liked what they did with him. And I like that he was, like Wakanda, he was like the Wakandans saved my life. And so
they're good people.
Yeah, they're good people, and he's pretty much willing to go to jail for him.
Yeah.
That's another thing we didn't talk about was Okoye's new suit.
Yeah. Which she's the Midnight Angel.
The Midnight Angel, which I'm assuming again is from the comics. I don't know.
I
don't think they
believe
made
that
up.
is in. I believe that is in the comics. I like the idea.
Yeah.
I don't like the execution. I did not like that suit.
Me neither. I kind of like the it's not really a cape, but it's like strips kind of.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. I didn't like the helmet or anything. It just didn't look.
I didn't like the helmet. I thought it was too blue.
Yeah.
I
see a comic image and it looks pretty similar to the comic, so I guess they they did a decent job adapting it, but I don't think I like the look of it.
No, I don't like the look of it. I agree with Okoye. It is ugly because she calls it ugly. But I like when they flew in during the final battle. I thought that like them flying in there
cool.
was really cool, but I just don't like the suit itself.
No, I don't either. I agree.
But going back to Martin Freeman, I think Ross was a little naive. Especially because we find out that Ross and director DeFontaine were married.
Right. I like that line though. She's like, I'll ride with you. And he's like, it's an 8-hour ride back to, Langley or whatever. And she's like, yeah, well, she's like, there's some things I've wanted to apologize to you about that I said during our marriage. You're just like, what?
What? Yeah. So we find out that they're married and he finds those beads. Yeah, they were married. He finds those beads that she planted. And I was thinking in my head, before that was revealed, I was like, he found those too easily.
Right.
And, I was like, why would they be right there? How in the world would they have been there for that long and didn't check?
Right.
And didn't see those. I was like, those had to be. There's something fishy was going on.
Right.
And then when she revealed that she planted them there
and had them bugged, basically.
Yeah, I was like, you kind of stupid, Ross. Like you should have known,
right?
Especially since you've had a close relationship with director DeFontaine, so you would know
what kind of person. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what kind of person she is and what she's capable of. So I thought that he was quite naive.
Yeah, pretty much. I also kind of like the back and forth between them, where I'm trying to find Valentina, I guess is her name, where he like keeps calling her director, LaFontaine or whatever, DeFontaine, and and she's like, Valentina, please, she's like, we know each other, blah blah blah, and so then at the end, after she reveals that she's bugged the beads, and she talks about, she's like, let's not even talk about that treasonous phone call you made with Queen Ramona or whatever. He's like, Valentina. And she's like, it's Director DeFontaine.
It's Director DeFontaine.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, Sue, I have a pretty confident idea about what you're going to rate this movie, but I'd still like to hear how many stars you would give Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a wonderful movie. In my opinion, it's one of the best in the entirety of the MCU. I love the way they handled every single character for the most part. I don't think there's any character that I don't like in this movie. Right. I think they handled everyone very well. I love the thematic substance of grief and different generational ideals and spiritualism and technology and tradition. That being said, I know I didn't talk about this during the episode, but there was some dialogue that was a little on the nose. I can't think of the examples right now. They slip in my mind, but there was some dialogue that was a little on the nose that I thought could have used a little bit more subtlety, but that's just a nitpick.
Sure.
And the third act was also didn't feel as big as I thought it should have.
Right.
But with all that being said, it's still a wonderful movie. So I'm gonna have to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
That's what I thought you were gonna give it. And I'm tempted to give it that as well. But I think, and I don't really have any, like specific criticisms necessarily. I think some of the stuff you said I kind of agree with. I do feel like it's a long movie, and I have yet to actually watch it in one sitting without falling asleep. So maybe I need to watch it in a little earlier in the day, perhaps. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with 4 out of 5. That's gonna be mine. I agree that it is one of the better MCU movies, and yeah, 4 out of 5. I mean, that's pretty good still. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of used to. I've been really liking the movies that a lot of people don't like. Like the last time I watched Thor: The Dark World, I'm like, this movie's not nearly as bad as I remember. If you fix the villain, if you just make the villain more interesting,
it's not
that movie is great.
Yeah,
that movie's great.
Well, and it's like you and I talked about Incredible Hulk the other day, or not the other day, but a few weeks ago, and that movie's kind of even better than we had remembered, and it gets a lot of criticism as being kind of the worst Marvel movie, or at least right up there with Thor: The Dark World, and it
gets forgotten.
Yeah, it's really not bad at all. It's really quite good. So, yeah, I understand that. But yeah,
Eternals is the one that that people give me weird looks about. I was like, I don't care.
Well, and I mean, I can relate to that 100% because I love Batman versus Superman, and that movie gets crapped on the internet still. So, although I think I've noticed a little bit more love for that movie on the internet now than like when it first came out. There was nothing but hate.
You know what's happening? It's the same thing happened with Man of Steel. Man of Steel was very divisive when it came out, and then I want to say Justice League happened, and everybody saw how good. Like, okay, maybe Man of Steel is not as bad as we thought. It's actually a masterpiece.
Yeah. So anyway, so I can understand. There's plenty of movies I like that I think the general public maybe or the general consensus is that the movie's not very good. But
yeah, there's one that I like that I know you don't like.
Out of the
we
Marvel
haven't
movies
discussed it yet.
Or
no,
in general?
Just in general. We haven't discussed it yet.
Okay.
But
curious what that is.
I'll tell you about it.
I know there's a movie that I'm dying to do that you are really not wanting to do, which is Face Off. But anyway, yeah. I guess we'll wrap up this episode, and then you and I can talk about what movies we could do in the future that will be more divisive on or whatever.
All right.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also leave us a comment on our Instagram or tweet at us. Both handles are at cinemaheroes. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below what you think of the movie. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.